A warm greeting to all. Today in this video we are going to discuss about the introduction on the subject EEE 8591 digital signal processing. Before getting into the syllabus in detail, we have to understand certain terms like signal, what are the types of signals available and why we are focusing mainly on digital signal, and what is the purpose of having a processing of such digital signals. Okay, now let us start with the basic introduction on the signal, that is what is a signal, and we can define a signal as a variable or a quantity. Signals or variables are a quantity that carries some information. So this is the simple definition for a signal, and here I have listed out some examples, that is known examples for the signal. The very first one is electrical signal. Normally in AC electrical power network, we used to represent voltage, current, even power in the form of sine wave, right? That sine wave is varying with respect to time. So that is a signal. And the second one is acoustic signals. You might have studied this term in physics. That sound is also getting varied with respect to time. Because in cinema we used to hear so many different sounds, like based on the situations in that cinema we used to hear so many different sounds. For at the time of hero introduction we will be hearing different sound, at the time of climax we will be hearing different sound, and at the time of comedy or at the time of emotions we will be hearing different sounds. At the time of songs also we will be hearing different sounds. So based on the time we are having a variation in this sound, right? And the third one is a mechanical signal. We used to travel by means of vehicle. If you want to represent the speed of that vehicle, that is velocity, we can represent that velocity of a particular vehicle by means of a signal, and that signal is also will get varied. The speed is getting varied with time, right? So we can say the velocity of a vehicle, this here I have mentioned as car. The velocity of a particular vehicle is also a signal, and it will be varying with respect to time. And the last example is video signal. It is quite familiar to us because nowadays we are very much fond of mobile phones, and everybody is having mobile phone, right? And we used to capture so many pictures and used to record so many videos by using mobile phones, right? And for doing such capturing of pictures or recording of videos, what we are doing is we are adjusting the intensity level of a pixel. The intensity in the sense, for taking pictures we used to adjust brightness, contrast, and even used to apply so many filters, right? And for taking picture we are doing some adjustment on the brightness, right? And if you are going to take picture the daytime, the brightness level will be different while comparing with the same setting at the night time, because we will not be requiring the same level of brightness setting for daytime or and night time. The brightness and contrast level is getting varied based on the time, so that we are telling that the intensity level of a pixel is also a signal and is getting varied over time. Okay, and while for capturing or recording videos also, the very first thing we used to do is we used to adjust the volume and also the brightness. The same thing will happen, because in daytime we will be hearing so many external noise, and at that time we will be requiring more volume in our mobile phone, and whereas for recording the same video during the night time or the midnight, we will not be requiring such amount of volume, because at the time we will not be having more external noise. So that while capturing video signals also we are doing some intensity adjustment of a pixel over time. So the thing what we are trying to understand from this slide is all the signals what we have listed out here, or these signals, that is variables or the quantity, are varying with respect to time. Even my speech, that my voice is also a signal. Now I am talking about the examples of signal. That examples of signal is a information, and my voice is a signal, that is a quantity or a variable it is having some information on the examples of signal, and my voice signal is getting varied with time, because while starting this video for this slide, my voice modulation might be different, and for discussing this slide my voice modulation may be different. So I am adjusting the modulation of my signal. I have to adjust the modulation of the signal, right? So to be more precise, the signals are the variable or the physical quantity that contains some information, because all the signals what we are talking so far are the signals that are readily available, that is naturally available signals, and all these are varying with respect to time, right? So on the whole we can define the signal as the variable or the physical quantity that contains some information, and these are all the few known examples for signal. In my voice is also a signal, and everything what we have discussed so far are the readily available, that is naturally available thing, and it is varying with respect to time. So we can say all this voltage, current, sound, velocity and the intensity level, everything as a function, and it is having dependency on time. Okay, this is what we are trying to understand from the term signal. So now we'll see how we can represent this type of signals. Signal representation. So mathematically, usually we used to represent everything in the form of an expression, that is mathematical expression. So signal also we can represent mathematically as a function of one or more independent variables. So say for example, and here I have mentioned one example, that is we are having one black and white video signal, and that intensity is dependent on x and y coordinates and also time. We can say that x and y are like brightness and contrast, and both things will get varied based on the sunlight, right? That is time. Okay, so we are having three parameters, that is variables, and we can call this x, y, t as the independent variable, because we are not having any control on the real time. Okay, based on that real time we are having control on the functions, that is intensity. Based on the time, based on the sunlight only, we are making adjustment on the brightness as well as the contrast. So we are not having any control on real time. So we can call that time as a independent variable. Okay, and based on those independent variables only we are doing some other adjustments on our function. So we can say that function as the dependent variable, and that dependency is on independent variables. We are calling the intensity, voltage, current, everything as a signal, that is representing as in the form of function, and it is going to vary with the time. And time, we are not having control on time, so we are calling the time, real time, as a independent variable, and voltage, current, everything as a signal, and we are representing in the form of a function. That function we are calling it as a dependent variable, because it is depending on the time. So f is a function, that is a signal, it is a dependent variable on independent variable time. So within the bracket we are having x, y and t, and these are all the independent variables, and based on this only we are having adjustment on our signals. Okay, so we are calling f as a signal, is a dependent variable on the time, that is independent variable. So this is the mathematical expression for the signal. Fortunately or unfortunately, in this course we are going to focus mainly on the independent variable, that is only one variable, that is time, because here we are having the function is having dependency on three variables, because video and picture is three-dimensional pictures, right? So for mentioning those real time we are having three independent variables, but whereas in this course we are going to focus mainly on the signal, which is having a dependency on only one independent variable, that is time. Okay, So in this course we are going to focus only on the function, that is f. It's going to have a variation with respect to time. So hereafter we are going to have a signal representation as f of t. F of t. Okay, this is what we have discussed so far, and we are having an independent variable, that is time. It is uncontrollable one, and based on this independent variable we are having a function of this signal, that is f of t. So this is a signal, that is the dependent variable, and within the bracket t is a independent variable. F is dependent and t is independent. Next is we'll see about types of signals available. We can classify signal into two broad classifications. One is analog and another one is digital signal. And we can classify the analog signal further into two types. One is continuous time signal and another one is discrete time signal. And then readily available, that is naturally available signals are analog signals, and whereas digital signals are man-made signal. It means that we cannot understand the information being in the form of digital. It can be, digital signals can be understood only by the system for the purpose of doing some manipulations. Okay, and these analog signals are easily available, and it is the only signal we human being can understand, whereas digital signals are not so. It is only for the manipulation for the computer. And now we'll see the types of analog signal. The very basic type of analog signal is continuous time analog signal, in which amplitude, that is on y-axis, and time, it will be on x-axis. Both are continuum. If both are continuum, then we can say this type of analog signal as continuous time analog signal, and we can derive this discrete time analog signal from this continuous time analog signal. By means of using sample and hold circuit, we can obtain a discrete time signal. Discrete time in the sense amplitude, that is y-axis value, will be a continuum, whereas x-axis, that is time, is not a continuum signal, that is it is a discontinuous. So that we are calling it as a discretized analog signal, that is a discrete time analog signal. And from this discrete time analog signal we can obtain this digital signal, and this digital signal is a man-made signal. So with the help of a quantization block we can obtain a digital signal from this discrete time analog signal. And the difference between this continuous and discrete is the amplitude and time both are continuous. It means the best example is sine wave. Voltage and current, real power, everything is keep on varying with respect to time. We are not having any discontinuity in this value. But whereas if you want to monitor the weather condition of a particular region or a particular city for nearly for 10 years or for even for 12 months, what we have to do is we will be measuring the height of rainfall for a particular month. Say for example for January, if you want to monitor, if you want to record the information about the rainfall, and likewise you have to calculate the rainfall length, height of the rainfall for each and every month throughout the year. So the rainfall for January is not having any relation with the rainfall for March or September. It means we are not comparing the data what we have recorded for January with the September or so-called months. Okay, so we can say that type of graph, that's a type of signal as a discrete signal, because we are plotting the signal with respect to rainfall, but the time what we have taken, that is for January and for the 30 days, and it is not having any relation with the next 30 days what we are having in September or November month. So the time is discrete. We are not having any continuity between the time period what we have taken. So this type of signal we used to call as a statistical data. It's mainly if you want to record any information about the stock exchange, the Sensex value, everything we can call that as a discrete values. It means that the signal is been discretized. We are not having any continuity in between the reference value what we have taken on x-axis. So that type of signal we can call that as a discrete time analog signal. This is also a natural signal, but we are deriving the readily available signal is continuous time. With the help of this continuous time signal only, we are getting another type of natural signal that is for calculation only, obviously. And with the help of this discrete time only, if you are going to calculate or if you are going to maintain a database in a system, we are in need of a digital signal. So digital signals, we all know it is having only two values, either 1 or 0. So it will be understood only by the system, not by a human being. That's why we are calling a digital signal as a man-made signal. Okay, this is the major classifications of signal. So two classifications is analog and another one is digital. In analog we are having two types. One is continuous time and another one is discrete time. We can get this discrete time with the help of sample and hold circuit, and with the help of discrete time signal we can get digital signal by means of using quantizer. So this is what the types of signal we are having. And next we'll see the signal conversion. So the naturally available signal is analog signal, that is continuous time signal. So as I said earlier, we are having a function, that is here we are calling a signal as x. Okay, it is a dependent variable that is having a dependency on an independent variable, that is time. Okay, and we can call this as a continuous time analog signal. And if we want to get a discrete time signal, that we can denote this discrete time signal in terms of x of n capital T. T indicates the sampling time. Okay, because with the help of sample and hold circuit only we are getting this discrete time signal, right? So we have to mention the sampling time taken for sampling the continuous signal also. And from this discrete time signal we will be getting a digital signal, that we can denote this digital signal as x of n. This is a signal conversion actually we are using nowadays. Okay, so in block we can say we are having an analog input, that is x of t. If we are going to give this x of t as input to sample and hold circuit with the sampling time period of capital T, we will be getting a discrete signal. And this discrete signal is going to act as an input to the quantization block. And with the help of quantization is nothing but it will be having an analog to digital converter along with the analog low pass filter circuit. Okay, and with the help of this quantization block we will be getting a digital signal, that is x of n. So we can denote continuous signal, that is analog as x of t, discrete as x of n capital T, and digital as x of n. Okay, this is what the signal conversion actually will happen. Now we'll see about continuous and discrete time signals. These two are the classifications of analog signals. The very first one is continuous time signal, and we can say this continuous time signals are the real world signals, that is naturally available signals. So the amplitude as well as the time both are continuous in nature. So the signal is perfectly a continuum signal, so we are calling this as continuous time signal. The best example is voltage in velocity. What are the examples we have seen so far are the continuous time signals, and we denote this continuous time signal as x of t. And the time may be a bounded value, that is a finite, or a infinite value, unbounded value. And this is the representation of continuous time signal, and we are denoting this continuous time signal as x of t. X is a dependent variable on independent variable, time is the independent variable, and so that we are taking this time as the reference value, that is on x-axis. And if you are going to relate this x of t with t, we will be having a continuously varying nature. We are having a continuity in both x-axis as well as in y-axis, so that we are calling this type of signal as continuous time analog signal. So the next type of analog signal is a discrete time signal. This is also a naturally available signal, but this signal is used only for maintaining some statistical data. It means that if you want to maintain some record by means of using some computer, or if you want to do some process based on that real-time value, and that time only we are in need of this type of discrete time signals. The best example is stock exchange value, that is a Sensex value, or the prediction of rainfall, or the value of the variation of load on a power system. Everything we can say in the form of a discrete value. Okay, and that type of signals we can denote by x of nt. So basically discrete time is denoted by x of nt, and this t is nothing but the sample time. If you want to normalize this as a digital signal, you have to take the value of t as 1 second. So after normalization, the x of nt we can represent as x of n. Actually x of n is a perfect digital signal denotion. Okay, and this is the representation of discrete time signal. Here we are having the variation of x of n with respect to n. And after applying a sample and hold circuit to this signal, we will be getting this value, right? And we are having continuity in x of n because throughout this entire area of this curve, we are having value of x of n only with respect to different values of n. Okay, it means that here we are having one value of n, and here there will be a different value of n, and in between these two values we are not having any value for n. So in between these 2 points the value of n is 0, that is the value of the time taken is 0. So that we are calling that as a discretized signal. It means we are not having any continuity in between these 2 points. Likewise here. Okay, so that we are calling this as a discrete time signal. Here this discrete time signal is normalized by taking the value of t as 1 second, so that we are denoting this discrete time signal as x of n. So basically x of n is a perfect digital signal. Digital signal values are only either 0 or 1. Okay, this is the description for continuous and discrete time signal. Both are analog signals. And so far we have seen what is meant by a signal and examples of signal and how we can represent a signal. Usually we can represent a signal mathematically as a function of one or more independent variables, but whereas in this course we are focusing only on a signal with only one independent variable, that is time. And next we have seen the types of signals available. The very first thing, basic signal is analog signal, in which we are having two types. One is continuous time signal and another one is discrete time signal, and both are readily available, that is naturally available signals. Even though we are having so many naturally available signals, we are preferring digital signal for doing some processing, right? The reason for choosing digital signal is, the very first reason is in order to have a better quality of a original signal, we are going for a digital signal. This is one of the major reason for choosing a digital signal than analog signal. Say for example, my voice is an analog signal. If I want to merge my voice with another voice signal, that is also an analog signal. So if we want to merge any two analog signal, we can't do a merging operation directly using this analog signals, because if you are going to add we are going to merge these two analog signals, the information what we are having in this original signal may lost. So in order to avoid such damage to the original signal, we are going for digital conversion of this analog signals. Okay, so for merging two voice signals, we will be going for some application in our mobile. Okay, so consider we are choosing one application and we are giving our voice signal. One is my voice and second another voice, and we are giving two voice signals to this application. and what this application will do is it will convert these two analog voice signal into a digital signal. And now these two analog signals is in digital formation, right? And at the time, at the time of digital formation only, we can do a merging operation. So after converting these two analog signals into one digital signal, and we can do a merging operation. That application will do a merging of these two voice signals. That, remember, this merging is in the formation of digital, right? And after merging these two digital input signal, and now that output we are having only one digital signal, and again this digital signal has to be converted into a analog signal. And after converting that analog signal, definitely there will be some internal noise in this signal. So in order to avoid such noise in this converted analog signal, we will be using some analog low pass filters, what we have studied in LIC subject. Okay, and finally we are getting one signal, that is voice signal. Okay, and we have given two input signal for merging these two input signals, and at last we will be getting a exact signal what we are expecting. So if we are converting this analog to a digital, we can avoid the loss of information in the original signal. So this is what the main reason for choosing a digital formation of an analog signal. And so far we have seen that reason for going for digital signal. It means in order to have a better quality of a original analog signal, we are going for digital signal. And for converting that analog signal into digital signal, we are in need of some process, right? And that application what we have seen so far as an example, we can say that application also as a system, because it is doing some process on the original input voice signals in order to get output signal. So that application itself we can call it as a system, because it is doing some process on the input signals to get the output signal. So now we'll see about the processing of such signals. Basically we are having three types in signal processing. The very first one is analog signal processing, the second one is digital signal processing, and third one is mixed signal processing. And after 2000 we are focusing on this mixed signal processing. It is a combination of both analog and digital signal processing, but in this course we are focusing mainly on digital signal processing, because in LIC we have studied about analog signal processing. So now we are focusing on digital signal processing, and for doing such process on signal we are going for a system. Okay, and the function of a system we can say as a system process input signals to produce output signals. So this is the function of a system. Okay, and here I have listed some examples for the understanding of the meaning of system. Say for example, in our electrical circuit, if you are having any capacitor, the capacitor itself we can say as a system, because it is taking the input supply voltage, and after a particular time period it is storing that input supply voltage in the form of a electrical field, that is it stores energy in the form of voltage, right? So it is doing some process on the input signal in order to get some storage output. So we can say that capacitor itself as a system is doing some process on the input. And the second example is CD player, and in which we are storing some data, we are copying that some songs, and later on if you are going to use this CD in a car or in our home, and you can hear some audio signals what we have stored in that, right? With the help of a loudspeaker we can hear the data what we have stored in the CD player. So that CD player itself we can say as a system. It's only it is quite familiar to us, because the mobile phones what we are using will come under this example, that is communication system. In communication system, we will be having a sender, which is transmitter, and at the destination we will be having a receiver. Via a transmission communication channel, we will be receiving the information. Say for example, if I want to make a call to my friend, and I am just calling from my new number, and my friend is not having my number so far. So now I am calling my friend and saying as, hey, hi, how are you? Okay, and my friend is very fond, and my friend is aware of my voice. Okay, and but now I am making a call from a new number. Okay, and I am saying as, hey, hi, how are you? Okay, and my friend is picking up my call and hearing that the same message what I have said, my voice. Okay, hey, hi, how are you? Okay, and after the next instant, after hearing my voice that hey, hi, how are you, and my friend will identify that voice as mine voice. Okay, and she will be saying as, hey, hi, how are you? Again, she will identify me, right? And this is what we are trying to understand so far. This is the success of digital signal. Say for example, if you imagine that we are not having any digital signal conversion, what will happen? The same thing will happen. We'll take the same example that I am making a call to my friend. I am saying that, hey, hi, how are you? Okay, and my friend is well aware of my voice, and she will identify my voice in the next instant after hearing my voice. Okay, and with the same situation, now I am calling, but now we are not having any digital signal conversion. Okay, purely the same voice signal is transmitted to my friend. And what will happen? My friend, if you are not having any digital signal conversion, my friend may receive the same, hey, hi, how are you, in the same, not in my same voice. My voice may get deferred. Okay, now I am speaking in my female voice. Okay, and the intensity of my voice may get varied at the receiver end. This is one reason for losing information, or the information what I have said, hey, hi, how are you, I have said 3 words, right? And this hey, hi, how are you will not be perfectly heard by my friend. Okay, and she might be hearing only how are you. Okay, and this is the disadvantage of having only the analog signal transmission. Okay, and this is what we are trying to say as information lost in analog signal. Okay, in order to avoid such things, we are going for a digital signal conversion. Okay, and now we'll see the representation of signal. It is going to do some process in mathematically. If you want to mention the process what is happening inside a system, we can say as simply as addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. This is what the process we meant. Okay, and for doing such process inside the system, we are in need of a signal, and here we are having analog signal. At the output side, we are getting a same analog signal, but inside this system, in earlier days, we are having the same analog conversion directly what we have studied in LIC subject. This is what we are calling as analog signal processing. And now we are discussing about the digital signal processing. So in order to getting y of t from x of t, we cannot process the same x of t inside this system by means of using digital signal processing. So the very first thing is the x of t will be converted into an x of n inside this system, and that x of n will get processed, and again this x of n will be converted into a y of t. Okay, this is what we are calling as a digital signal processing. So far we have seen what is a signal and what are the types of signal available, and the reason for going for digital signal, and how the digital signal is getting processed. and the processing is happening by means of a system. That process is nothing is happening by using a system. Any application or anything that we can call as a system. In the CD player, even a printer, even a computer, even a mobile phone, everything we can call it a system. It's nothing but a system. It's nothing but a device or some circuit. It is going to perform some process on an input signal to get the output signal. So that processing is called as a system. Okay, anything can be a system. Okay, so now we'll again come back to the course title, that is digital signal processing. So we know the meaning of signal. It is nothing but a physical quantity which contains some information. Okay, and basically we can represent this signal as a function of time, and in which we are having analog signal and digital signal. And from analog signal, that is a readily available signal. The function of t is nothing but the readily available natural signal, that is continuous signal, from which we are deriving digital signal. Okay, and for deriving digital signal, we are using sample and hold and quantization circuit. And digital signal is also a signal. It will be having some information, but this information we cannot understand. It can be understood only by the system, that is computer. It is used only for the manipulation purpose, that is calculation or doing some processing. Okay, and this signal is having pure exact information what we are having in the analog signal, but in the form of zeros and ones, so that we cannot understand the content inside the digital signal. Okay, and this signal is getting processed by using some applications, and we have seen some examples for processing the digital signals. The best one is mobile phone, that is a communication system what we are using nowadays. Okay, and hope now we can understood the meaning of signal and what is meant by digital signal and how it is getting processed. So now we are very clear with the subject title, digital signal processing.